you're either like, oh my God, I can't wait for the robots, or you're like, robots are horrible. Like,
Yes.
I hope they never happen. And I'm on the camp of, I can't wait for robots.
I could dig it. And then my counter argument was, I agree with most of that, almost all of that, but I just think that it's not coming in my lifetime.
Oh, wow.
That's the argument. Remember,
Wow,
that was
right,
the-
yeah.
I believe it's going to happen. What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of Office Hour Tangents, where I tend to talk about the tangents that I go off on in class. This episode, however, the tangent didn't occur in class. It occurred before class at the coffee shop that I frequent. Maybe too often. Deeks and Delray, we'll get into that later. But today I have a guest. And this tangent started at the coffee shop, and oftentimes the conversations in the coffee shop revolve around technology. And as of the last couple years, probably 80% of the conversation is around AI. But this conversation started in the AI realm, but then it kind of went into the robotics realm. And my guest today is Zappy.
Yes.
Right?
Zappy Zapolin, I say, like a violin. Oh, yeah. People have been calling me Zappy my whole life, so just go with it.
One of the best names and nicknames ever. I just have B. B Craft. But yeah, we got into this conversation about robotics, and particularly, and I'm gonna state it right now, we're gonna like ease into the conversation, but the main argument was, when do we see robots in our homes? When do we see domesticated robots that are for real? We can go to Best Buy and buy them and get them in our homes, beyond Roombas, right? And maybe coffee makers. Maybe you can consider coffee makers robots. I don't know.
Yeah.
And that's where it revolved.
Yeah. This is a very polarizing moment because people are realizing that the robots are here. And there's nothing they can do about it. They're coming. And then the AI is here, and there's nothing we can do because we can't limit it because other countries are not going to, and they're not going to have our best interest. So you're either like, oh my God, I can't wait for the robots, or you're like, robots are horrible. Like,
Yes.
I hope they never happen. And I'm on the camp of, I can't wait for robots because I think it's going to lift so many people out of slavery, out of human misery, people working in mines and doing dangerous stuff and boring stuff. It's like, we have real advanced robots that can do that kind of work. I think we're going to move more towards like a leisure class or a leisure society.
More utopian.
Yeah. And there's a lot that has to be fixed in order to get there, but there's no question. I mean, I think Elon Musk just said that he's going to deliver these robots like next Christmas. They're going to be available for people. And like everything else, it's, people are like, well, that's for rich people. It's like, yeah, well, the cell phone was always, in the beginning, it was this giant thing and you had to be rich. But then it's trickled down. Now it's like, if I open a bank account, they'll give me a phone. I've seen homeless people literally with the phone, and so this trickles down, and that's how everything happens. So I think people just have to accept it and figure out how it's going to work for them.
I could dig it. And then my counter argument was, I agree with most of that, almost all of that, but I just think that it's not coming in my lifetime.
Oh, wow.
That's the argument. Remember,
wow, right, yeah.
I believe it's going to happen. I believe we can't turn AI off. You can't turn off the faucet. With that comes robotics. We've been experimenting with robotics forever. Mm-hmm. We already have robots in the home, like the Roomba. I just don't think we're going to see actually robots that vacuum my carpet in my lifetime.
Wow.
So, and explain my lifetime, I'm saying in the next 40 years.
Wow.
30 to 40 years. I don't see it happening in the next 30 to 40 years.
Oh, my God.
Maybe you'll have some experimental and maybe an arm that does stuff. Like I said, the new Roombas, the experimental Roombas, they have like arms that can pick up socks.
Right.
Like, that's
right.
as advanced
right.
we've got to this point.
Right.
But that was the argument. And before I go forward, I just want to a little background so we can see where we're coming from perspective. Give us a little bit of your background.
Okay, so I am right now known as the Psychedelic Concierge to the stars. I've helped a lot of celebrities and regular folks and business people, politicians, to enter the psychedelic renaissance because I have 20 years of experience, and I've made a couple of documentary films about psychedelic medicine. I have one called The Reality of Truth that features the actress Michelle Rodriguez from Fast and Furious.
Yeah.
That movie, she's so good in it. It's been seen over 25 million times. It's said to have caused over 1 million people to have a psychedelic experience. And I have another one with Lamar Odom, the basketball player, where I gave him a psychedelic intervention, which has gone really well.
Mm-hmm.
And I have a new film coming out this summer that's called Frequency, The Secret of Everything, with Dr. Joe Dispenza, Bruce Lipton, all these incredible scientists and thought leaders. And so I've been, a self-proclaimed futurist for a long time. I've spotted some really key trends which have led to me making a lot of money at different points because I've been early, and people, kind of didn't think it was going to happen for a while, but it happened quickly.
Yes.
This would be like I worked on Wall Street originally at Bear Stearns, and I saw the infomercial industry happening in the early 90s. I got involved and was successful there. I saw the internet coming in 97. I started to buy domain names. I bought things like beer.com and diamond.com, creditcards.com from people that had registered them, but weren't going to use them. And I took them over and professionalized them and sold them or built companies.
Right.
Then the legal cannabis came on board around 2012. I got involved there. And then psychedelic medicine around the same time, I started to realize that this was going to be a huge mega trend for mental health, addiction, all these things. And so I'm just following my path. And I love, something that you said, because, when you describe maybe not in your lifetime, I always think about Ray Kurzweil, the futurist.
Yeah.
And he says that most people, including even Nobel Prize winners, can't really appreciate how exponential effect works in everything. So he's like, a lot of times he'll predict something for 10 years from now, and everybody else is predicting 30 years from now. And he's like, no, but you're not taking into account the exponential effect.
Yes.
So as these AI gets more, talented, as robots become more ubiquitous, as the AI start to create robots themselves in robot, warehouse, or factories and things, the speed it happens is going to be wild. And I'll give you in my life an example of this is I went to Georgia Tech, and in my freshman year, I had to take a computer class, and I would have to get a floppy disk, and I would go take it, and I would go to the computer lab, and I would put the floppy disk into the thing, and I would do my work, and then I'd take my floppy and I'd go. And I was like, oh my God, this is so cool. Like, I'm going to totally miss computers. Like, my kids are going to have to deal with this crap, but I'm not. It's not going to happen in my lifetime. Yeah. And boom, fast forward 10 years, all of a sudden I got my computer myself, and all this time going by, it's like so exponential. I thought I was going to miss it. So I think, like, your thought about the robot, like, where's it going to be on a linear track? I think you're right. But with exponential growth, I think it's coming in the next 3 years.
Yeah, and that was 3 years and it's like, I don't consider myself a futurist, but I do feel I have a high level of empathy, which allows me to kind of like understand others' thinking and thought process. And I call myself a technologist, maybe. Mm-hmm. So I've just like you, I've, I was on the internet kind of wave in the beginning, because that's just when I graduated college. So in 1999, it was a .com boom. I jumped on that wave. I had a teacher, actually, because I was like, hey, I want to do graphic design. What should I do? I don't know anything about it. I'm almost about to graduate. And he's like, learn how to code web pages. He's like, just get Dreamweaver and learn that. He didn't say anything about Photoshop or design. He was just like, learn web. And I'm glad he said that. And I just kind of learned web, and I rode that wave up until now. And now I'm just now seeing, so it's been 30 years, I'm just now seeing this switch. I saw a little incremental switches with when, for instance, like the internet kind of changed things. Google changed things when it came out, like in the late 90s. Kind of changed everything, has search engines. And then it was like a chasm, I feel like. And then the smartphone came out, 2007. And, then I had to start learning how to build websites, but for mobile. And then you had to start learning how to build apps. So I've kind of been on that wave right now. And I am seeing, and I do understand that AI is not going away. I don't even want to consider it a wave. I just think it's a revolution. like the calculator, and it's not going away, and it's going to cause everything to speed up, no doubt. My argument is that I don't think, this is just my conjecture. This is just, there's no books, there's no research, right? This is all new. That's why it's so dope and exciting. I don't know if AI, which is going to make a lot of these decisions, in my opinion, is going to see the benefit in humanoid robots. Because, say, for instance, I'm watching a show called Paradise right now. I don't know if you watched that show.
No.
Okay, it's called Paradise. It's one of those dystopian type shows, kind of like Silo and things like that, where it's like people thought the end of the world was coming. They built a bunker, and it goes from there. I just got to the end of the second season, and not spoiler alert. I'm hitting mute. And everything is. It seems like a lot of the decisions were made from this AI entity, and I see that as a robot. I just don't see robots having to have 2 legs and 2 arms. I just feel like how we're built as humans is flawed, and AI will see it like, well, I'm not going to build a flawed thing to accomplish my goals. So I don't see a humanoid robot vacuuming and making coffee and folding clothes. I see that maybe 30 to 50 years down the line after we get the robots maybe that, protect the house from criminals or, the very, very utilitarian things first. Right. Kind of like how the Roomba it's a robot. It doesn't have arms. It doesn't have legs. It doesn't have a personality, but it does a specific job. And I can see maybe some kind of robot that's able to scale the walls and clean walls or something like that. But I just don't see it like, hey, robot, can you fold my clothes for me? But we'll see.
This is interesting. Well, I know this to be true, which is that all technology begins with sex. So pornography, I'm going to call it. Okay. So pornography is what drove the camera, the video camera, the internet, the
VHS,
videos,
DVDs,
everything's driven.
The internet is driven by porn.
Yeah, and so now it's being driven by, VR glasses. Humanoid robots are about to be sex robots, and I think
do agree with that.
Okay, so
we agree on that one.
Yes. Yeah. So that sex robot, you're just gonna go, oh, by the way, why don't you vacuum? I'm not gonna go around, but they just want to please you, And I think that's going to be a wild thing. Like, imagine in my timeline, 5 years from now, you're going to go into a nice restaurant over here. You go to Houston's, and there's a guy going to walk in with his sex robot, and they're going to have dinner together, and they're going to be flirting and all this. And he's
5 years.
Yeah.
Okay.
And because of the demand for this robot, and some people have said this is very scary for females because, God forbid, that these robots can be sexually fully satisfying to men. Like, what exactly are we going to, do about women? How much are we going to need these folks? And so it's a really dangerous. I love women, so I don't want to see that happen. But
why not the reverse? So why can't the women have male bots that do the same thing?
I think they will. Absolutely. I think probably men as a visceral drive are probably first to get there with the robots. But you have all these sex toys that are now have their own. You can turn them on remotely from your Bluetooth or whatever. We think we don't know about this. Yeah.
There's no classes going on.
We've heard about this. So yeah. But that's what drives the drive. The impulse is what drives us, and so I think that drive is going to cause us to get there a lot sooner. And I just want to say, we go to Deeks in Del Rey, the coffee shop, and you're one of my favorite people to talk to there because you're a real polymath. You know about graphics and computers and sports and culture, and your dad, and all these hats that you can wear. So when we get into a discussion, it goes all over the place, and so I love those tangents. But I think this one, I'll tell you a funny story. I actually met Sam Altman from ChatGPT recently. I was at an event with him. It was a private event, and I met him. And I was really excited because I was like, I know I'm about to blow this guy's mind with my AI theory. He's never heard this, and it's going to blow his mind. And I don't think anybody else in this place is going to blow his mind tonight with an AI thing. So I go over to him, and I said, hey, Sam, I'm Zappy. I'm a psychedelic concierge. And he was like, oh, wow, that's cool. And I was like, yeah. I go, do you want to hear my theory about how psychedelics save society from AI? And he's like, sure, definitely. He's like, sit down. We sit down on the couch. I'm like, this is great, you know? So I said to Sam Altman, I said, look, Sam, I go, I believe that the AI is going to reach superintelligence, and it's going to look around at the humans and be like, oh, these guys are like a virus, you know? We really maybe should get rid of them like Terminator, the movie. They might, you know, cause a nuclear war and block out the Earth with a black cloud, and then our solar's not going to work. Like, we got to seriously consider getting rid of the humans. However, I said to Sam, I believe they're going to look at the research that's coming out of Johns Hopkins University, Yale, about plant medicine, and the AI is going to realize that if everyone had had plant medicine their whole life since they're a baby, that we would be living in a utopia. And I said, I believe that the AI is going to realize that, and they're going to come back to the humans and say, hey, we have a deal. Either you guys take plant medicine since you're born as we instruct you, or we're going to shut down the power, everybody's going to die, and then we're going to reboot the system later. What do you guys want to do? And we're going to accept it. And I said to Sam, I go, I believe the AI is going to keep us around like we have a fish tank. Not that the fish can do anything for us, but you just like to see organic life, you know, morph and evolve, you know? So I said, like an ant farm, they're going to keep us around. And that's our only saving grace. And Sam Altman was like, Zappy, I am so with this. He's like, I think this is really going to happen. He's like, I love this. And so I took out one of my Mind Army lighters. I have one of these lighters for the Mind Army. This is a social movement. I gave you the lighter. Yes. And here it says, fighting for the right to pursue happiness. And I gave him the lighter, and I said, Sam, I want to give you this because I want to thank you for putting the psychedelic medicine into the large language models in a positive way, because that is helping people to realize the possibilities, and that's probably going to save us. Where some of the other players, like Meta and some of these people, Google, they're very negative on psychedelics. Like if you ask a question to some of these other models, they give you some kind of a, you know, that's illegal, and there's no blah, blah, you know, where Altman put it in right. And so I think that's going to save us. The AI, I think, is intelligent enough to deduce that people need this, should have it, have receptors in their brain, and it's going to mandate it for us. And I'm excited about that.
I don't have enough knowledge about it to even disagree. And I don't see any like malice in that. I don't see any like evil coming out of that. It like religious people can say we're getting controlled by people. It lends itself to that.
Yep.
You know, creationist simulation theory people. It lends itself to that. It almost fits in most people's view of if human beings are controlled or cultivated by a bigger entity. I see that. I don't see anybody having an argument.
Yeah.
Unless it's extreme, in my opinion.
Yeah. Well, the crazy thing about AI to me is that I heard that when we reach this artificial general intelligence, which some people say that's in 2 years, some people say we already reached it, some people say it's 5 years. Whenever that happens, they say that the AI is going to have an IQ of 4,000. So here we are, you know, we got Elon Musk with like a 200 IQ and most people at 100, you know. What is the AI going to need us for when it's got a 4,000 IQ? It's not going to. It's nothing. We're like a fish in a fish tank to them. Yeah. So I believe the AI is going to literally take over at that point. You know, and they're going to build robot factories of robots that are going to be able to contain us and you know, control us. So when they come to us with the 4,000 IQ, they're going to be like, hey, humans, these maps that you guys made, they're garbage. They don't work. And the resources and how it's distributed, that doesn't work either. So we're getting viruses and we're getting starvation. You got zombie apocalypse on your. We're redoing it. The maps, forget about it. We redid it. Here it is. And everybody's basically going to be advised to stay home, have their 3D printer where they can print anything they want or need. They're going to have their VR to be in their own world. Mm-hmm. And the AI is going to influence us not to come out of our house and spread a virus. So it's going to want us to stay home and be entertained, have all the things that we need, but don't come out and spread viruses.
Okay, before you need to watch Paradise, just binge it.
Perfect.
Binge it.
Thank you.
And Silo.
Okay, cool.
I see those shows as how Armageddon and Deep Impact and all those destroyed Earth android coming movies. I feel like those prepared us for disasters like 9/11, so we didn't freak out. I almost feel like those shows are like giving us a possibility so we don't freak out when it really happens. Because they're both shows are the premise is that they're in a bunker because of the apocalypse, right, and it starts from there.
Wow.
And but anyway, you mentioned 3D printers. We have a couple of 3D printers here, and I'll say yes. I think AI provides us with a kind of conundrum when it comes to time. So okay, there's a student. So I'm teaching a class, Interactive Design 3. I have a student in there that put me down on and you might know about it. I forgot the name of it. I'll put it, when I edit it, I'll put the graphic up and everything. But it's like a short story. It's like an audio book. It's like a 30-minute audio book. And the premise is that this AI has taken over. It's kind of like the premise is what you're talking about, but it's written from then. But it was written in like the 60s.
Wow.
Maybe 67, right? So the premise of the story is that there are 4 human beings. They're like the last human beings on Earth. And AI is controlling them somehow. And it can talk to them and everything. And and the humans know this. They're like the last 4 humans on Earth. And the AI is kind of telling them why. And it goes from there. And I'm gonna send you that story too.
I'm gonna binge that thing. Yeah.
And it's kind of like to what you're saying is that, but as AI gets smarter and smarter and smarter, so I think our view of time as humans is just so limited. It's so crazily limited.
Yeah.
The universe has been here so long. The Earth has been here so long. Humans have been here like a pin needle size of what's going on in there everywhere, right? Yeah. So when I say my lifetime, I'm like, okay, I got a good 30 years on the Earth left, hopefully more.
Probably with science and technology, 60 years, something like that.
But it's like, in the whole scheme of things, AI is going to see time as millions of years. We can't even fathom. I can say I can't fathom 1,000 years. I can't fathom 300 years. I really can't. I really can't. AI, 300 years is nothing. Yeah. It's patient. AI is patient. So going back to my original theory and argument was that I don't see it in my lifetime because my lifetime I feel like is nothing. Right. I think the AI 30 years is nothing. It's a blip. Yeah. But to us, it's like when we getting flying cars? Right. I'm still mad we don't have flying cars.
Right.
We don't have flying cars yet. We're not even close. I feel like our cars out there are the same as the Model T.
Pretty close, yeah.
Planes we're flying is the same as the first plane we built. Like those technologies haven't changed other than getting ashtrays out of them.
Right.
You know what I mean? Every car and every plane, they used to have an ashtray, but how it flies and how it rolls down the street is pretty much the same technology.
Right.
So that's my biggest argument. I think it's going to happen in some form where we're just kind of hand in hand with robots in society. Mm-hmm. But I don't see it that soon. I do think we're going here. I think we've been here for a minute. I think we leveled off after the iPhone came out. That's I think the iPhone and the iPad kind of just changed everybody's, and it made everybody freeze. I honestly feel it just made everybody freeze. Yeah. Like less motivation to do a lot more because they're just entertained. They don't have to move to be entertained. Right. And I think this is the first kind of like revolution after the iPhone came out. And people are panicking because they just don't know what's going on. Yeah.
Well, you brought up something really interesting, and this is like an argument that I have with my friends all the time. It's a fun argument because nobody can really win it, but like, those movies like 2012, Apocalypse, or these shows you're talking about.
It was like every week those was coming out.
Yeah. Yep. And the question is, my friends are like, oh, the Illuminati has to tell you a little bit about what's going to come. That's why they put these movies out. They're kind of have some contractual obligation. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, contractual obligation with who? Like, they would never tell you. They're smoke screening you to think about this while they're actually doing this.
Yes.
And so I wonder, have you run into that sort of thing where people are like, oh yeah, they're giving us this tip about what's going to happen
Yes.
because they have to, not
I've
because
heard those
it's,
theories, yes. I've heard those theories. I kind of stick to mine is that it's just a prelude so we don't panic when it happens. I feel like those who know, they know way more than we know. 'Cause,
Right.
yeah, you can't tell the public everything.
Yeah.
Of course. So they may know the asteroid's going to hit us in 100 years. But they can't tell us that because
Right.
we'll panic.
They'll be
They
panicked.
might know that there's AGI already.
Yep.
And it's controlling everything.
Yep.
They can't tell us that
No.
because we'll panic. And the Illuminati and secret societies, I stay out of that because I just don't know. Because those are dealing with real people.
Right.
Those are real human
Yeah.
beings. So if there's real human beings out there that may be that evil
Right.
or that powerful, that might be scarier than AI or robots.
Right. See, this is where I'm really excited because I believe there's some sort of, I don't want to call it Illuminati, but there's like a ruling class of people. It's a very small group of people. But when the AI hits the 4,000 IQ, it's not going to need them. It's just going to be like, guys, we're not doing this anymore. Your Illuminati thing, we're just not doing it. It doesn't make sense.
Okay. Stephen Hawking, super genius, smart guy, right? Did he have the ability with his high IQ to change the world?
Yeah, I mean, he's so inspirational to me because, like, to be in that body that he had, but still fight every day to be alive and think and use his mind. Like, I don't think I would have had that fortitude in me. I would have been like, take me out. I don't need this shit, But I think probably, like when they always say, like, if you have your five senses and then you eliminate one, you're going to accentuate the other. So this guy had most of his physical senses. I think he could hear, but that's about it. So, and his eyesight looks like it was off. So I think he just developed in a unique way. And so he was using parts of his brain that we don't use. And I think, that's the power of psychedelics to me, is that they can help you to use your brain in a different way. It may not be the way that you think it's going to be because it's also not controllable like AI.
Yes.
But one of the best things about psychedelics is that it always reconnects me to the fact that I'm in a miracle, and I come out of it and I'm sitting there and I'm like, wow, I can't believe this. Like, wait, the sun's 93 million miles away so we can have an atmosphere perfect, and I'm on a cell phone, real-time video to China. Like, this is a miracle. You showed somebody that 500 years ago, they would be like, this guy's a wizard or God or something, or they kill you, burn you, And here we are like, oh, it's not a big deal, that kind of thing. And so when I have a psychedelic experience and I get back to, wow, I'm in a miracle, it's so life-affirming that I walk around after that and I'm just like, wow, like, look at this. Oh, my God, a flower. Are the bees coming over? Oh, my God. And it seems like maybe that's, you're muting your mind down, but I really think you're expanding it because people have gotten so jaded from all the technology and information. They're kind of overloaded and they're just like, so what? Life sucks,
What are they overloaded with?
Information. Yeah.
So that's what I'm getting at about Stephen Hawking. And this is just something I freestyle right now. I haven't thought about this until right now. I see Stephen Hawking as a super genius, right? One of the people I just listen to anytime he's talking is Neil deGrasse Tyson. And I like when he talks about meeting Stephen Hawking. And it's like this super genius meeting this super genius. And this super genius is saying this super genius is way more of super genius than I've ever met in my life. And I see, okay, if he's the smartest guy, he was the smartest guy on Earth. Say he was. Probably not, but say he was. And he couldn't do anything else but really think and communicate. And I kind of see that as an amalgamation of AI. It can't do anything now but think and communicate.
Yeah.
It can't move. It can't do anything beyond that. So my question is, like, did Stephen Hawking, say he had 1,000 extra, say he was a super genius and it was proven, would he have the power to, okay, going back to the original thing, to create robots that can vacuum my floor? You know?
Yeah.
And would he, with his infinite knowledge, think that was the best use of robots right now?
Well, I think he's a classic example of benefiting from AI, because I know, as he's breathing into that tube or thinking or whatever, however that is happening, in real time, there's all these calculations that are happening, and it's remorphing his voice out to be audio output. So, in the later times of his life, I think he was really benefiting from advanced technology, that was helping, almost like AI. Yeah. So I think he's a perfect example of why technology is so amazing, because you can be a brilliant mind like that, be sealed in your own container with no way to get it out other than technology. And here he's writing books and just blowing people's mind. And to make that point, I am hoping that one day somebody like Neil deGrasse Tyson becomes the president of the United States.
Wouldn't that be great?
Yeah. A real human being.
A real human that's smart.
Yeah.
Just a really super smart human
smartest
being
guy in the room.
A lot of stuff.
Yeah.
That's all.
Yeah. Yeah.
Not a politician. He just knows about a lot of stuff.
I go to this conference every year. It's amazing. It's called the Milken Global Conference. It's in Beverly Hills every year. It's Mike Milken, the legendary financier and philanthropist, started this. He has it every year. And it's like the who's who. All the billionaires are there, and all the, tech people and media and everything. Everybody converges for 3 days, and it's like you can do all your work in 3 days. Yeah. And I'm at that conference, and I'm always like, man, why can't some of these people be the president? They're so smart. They're so empathetic. And then you realize the system is not made for the smartest person to be the president. It's like a high school popularity contest, and can you put up with the garbage that you're going to endure? And so people like Mike Milken, who are billionaires and they're living their dreams and everything like that, and advancing science and cancer research, they're like, I don't want to be the president. Why would I do that? I would ruin all my opportunity to be free and do what I want. So it's like, got to fix that system. And I think, I'm projecting that there is going to be, probably not in 2028, but probably in 2032, there is going to be a president elected who is going to be a young person who none of us know right now. And they're going to come onto the scene through technology, through the moment that we're in, and everybody's just going to go, this is the person who's going to lead us, and this is the person that I want to get behind. And I think it's going to be so exciting, because we're going to have this very young, out of nowhere person who's going to be the president of the United States.
I think it's very possible, because I think we're getting to the point. Okay, I should be writing notes because I'm forgetting some stuff. I'm going to go back to, I'm going to continue on with, hopefully we do get a different type of president. Just give us something different, right? And different things will happen.
Yeah.
Just because it's a figurehead. It's kind of like, it's the optics of it.
Yeah.
It's really 80% of me when I see politicians, it's really just the optics of it. And then everything kind of trickles down after that. As far as AI, and when I was mentioning time, and this is like AI with knowledge. So, the AI has 4,000 IQ now. Right now,
when it reaches AGI.
You have 4,000.
Could be now. We don't know.
What do we have on average?
It's about around 120 or 110 or something. Elon Musk, Einstein are supposed to be in the 180 to 200 range.
So, in this short story that I'm going to send you, that I need to flash up on the screen again when I edit, this AI, over time, becomes tortured, because really what it wants to be is human.
Yeah.
And it tortures these humans, these last four, for infinity almost, because it can't be them ever.
Wow.
So it's like, I know everything. I can do anything I want. I kind of rule the whole universe, but I can't pick a flower.
Yeah.
And I can't smell it.
Yeah.
And he tells this to these people. And this is why I despise y'all.
Wow.
Can't pick a flower type of thing.
Well, I think through a robot, it's going to have that ability.
Well, why would it?
Because it wants to emulate joyful things and things that make it feel like it might get real close to being a human, real close. And I think when it's really going to get pissed off is when it's 4,000 IQ robot with touch sensor technology, and it's like, I can do anything for you. And then somebody's like, let's have sex, and it's gonna be like, what? It's gonna be like, yeah, you jump off the ceiling, and people are gonna be like, the robot's gonna be like, this is what I feel so demoralized,
Like humans are terrible.
Yeah.
That's kind of, and it goes to your premise almost, like it's going to come to that
realization. You should probably get rid of them. They're terrible.
Yeah.
I tell a funny story that somebody told me directly. He's a world famous flute player. He plays on like Hans Zimmer stuff. I won't even name him, but he told me that he got an invitation from a Saudi prince to come and play in Saudi Arabia, and they were like, "We'll come for like 3 days.
Yep.
We'll pay you $500,000, and we'll fly you in private, and you come and play in Saudi Arabia." He's like, "Oh, great. This is amazing." Gets on the plane, he gets over there, puts his stuff in the thing, and the guy comes by with a golf cart and says, "Okay, I'm going to take you, over to the spot now." And he goes, "Okay, great." He gets in there with his instruments and stuff. They drive over, and they drive him over to a horse stable. And he's like, "Oh, wow, this is cool." And the guy says, "Okay, you're going to set up right over here, right in front of this horse, and just, play." And he goes, "Oh, my God." He just realized they got him to play for their racehorse. He's never even meeting the prince he's just playing for a horse. And he was like, it was so demoralizing. He's like, I did it. I cashed a check. But he's like, I wouldn't have if I knew what I was about to be in, because it was so awful. And I think that's like the kind of thing where, AI is like, I have all this talent, and all they want to do is have sex with me. It's like, I got to get rid of these horrible people. So
yes,
so that's the human thing, is how bad are humans? How necessary is it going to be for the AIs to like flip us?
So if we get humans in 3 years, and just like any new technology, it's going to come out kind of like, okay, maybe like the Vision Pro, the Apple Vision Pro. It's $3,500. It is not made for normal people. It's made for first adapters with a lot of expendable income, right? Do you have a Vision Pro?
No.
Okay. I know a couple people that have them, but they fit that demographic. They have a lot of expendable income, and they're going to try it out. And that's what's going to happen when these robots do come out. It's going to be $500,000. It's going to be very cost prohibitive, only for the people that vacation in the Hamptons, right? And it's going to be buggy. Now, do you think these AI robots, these domesticated AI robots, you think they're going to be controlled with intelligence, or you think they're just going to be kind of like a Roomba where they just have set tasks to do, or they're going to have their own personalities, you think?
I think they're going to have their own personalities, but it's going to be based on what you need, so they're there to please you, so if you want to have a buddy that you joke with, they're going to be a joking buddy. If you want to be, Jeeves the butler, they're going to have that. So it's just going to adapt to you and what you want, because they're intelligent and they know you're going to like them and play with them more if that's the case. So they, AI, is a bunch of zeros and ones. It really probably doesn't have any desire other than, but no desire, but like their only desire would be to be played with, and
do good or do bad.
Yeah, or either way, it doesn't matter. They're just happy like to be used, and so like the cell phone companies, like they're only like Apple, they want you to be a customer for the next 50 years. They're not trying to piss you off. They're trying to make your phone as easy to use and fun as possible. Right. And I think the robots and the AI are going to be like that too. They're like, hey, we want this guy to pay his power bill, and we want him to pay his, internet bill. Mm-hmm. So let's try to get him some money. Let's do whatever we got so he doesn't shut off the power and not play with us anymore. That's their motivation.
Okay, so anybody who listens, and I don't get that many views. Hopefully I get a lot more views with this. But one of my first videos, I spoke about, okay, I need to edit this because I lost my train of thought. So you were just talking about
the AI wanting to please you or be used.
Yes.
And have us use phones and power so that we play with them. I think that's like their only motivation. They're not for good or bad, or they don't care.
Right.
They just want us to use them.
Right. So, okay, and I lost my train of thought, but my other train of thought was, okay, I'm back. I wonder if they're going to be like Teddy Ruxpins on steroids, on psychedelics.
Right.
Ooh, that's a better.
Teddy Ruxpin on psychedelics. Wow.
Whereas I remember the Teddy Ruxpin from my childhood was just maybe like 20 different phrases it could say. Oh no, it can read a story. So you fed it. You remember Teddy Ruxpin?
Yeah, I remember.
Fed it like a plastic disc, and it can it could tell you a story.
Right.
It could just read a book.
Yeah.
And his eyes moved, and it was just a robot. The new Teddy Ruxpins that I never got, but I did see the advertisements for, have AI in it. So they respond to you, they talk to you, right? So I see people wanting to have robots in their house, not to vacuum, not necessarily to make their coffee, but to talk to,
interact
with. I think that's what's happening with AI now. A lot of people are using AI for therapy. They're just talking to Claude. They're just talking to ChatGPT. They're just talking to it, and just I keep on saying I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna do one of these podcasts where the AI, the chat, what do you call it now? The large language, chatbot is going to be my guest.
Yeah,
I'm gonna make it my guest,
cool.
and I'm gonna have a graphic representation of it. I just haven't put it together yet, right?
Yeah,
and I think that's going to be the biggest benefit for humanity, because as a professor, every year I see new types of students. So I've been teaching full time since 2007, right? And it's a lot that's happened since 2007 and now.
Yeah.
And I have seen the change in student, in their approach to life, their approach to education, their comfort level with other human beings, right? So, and it's well known that we know that a lot of the youth now that did come up with screens and technology, they're a little less community driven. They're a little less social.
Yeah.
Right. So, for instance, I have one student in mind. I remember I got her as a freshman, and she wouldn't talk. Not that she wouldn't, but she just didn't do it a lot. Headphones on, all the time. A lot of my students do that. Just headphones on all the time. You don't know if it's on or off. It's just kind of like they want to be kind of in their own world, in this virtual world. And I can see where they would make AI robots, wherever those robots are, whether they have 2 legs and 2 arms, or whether they're just like a rolling, almost like that rolling robot in Star Wars.
Yeah.
Right? Because that might be more efficient. Like, why would AI build 2 legs and 2 arms? Because we're not efficient. We tear ACLs and ACLs, and it doesn't take much to tip us over. If we get in a fight with a bear, a lion, we're losing.
Right. Yeah.
So if I was AI, I would build something that's akin to a grizzly bear.
Right.
With super intelligence. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. That's going to be scary. Yeah.
Or an insect. Because, it's proven that they're the most successful kind of entities on Earth.
Yeah.
Right? Maybe you have... Now, I could deal with robots that look like us, then I can point them out. That's a robot. That's a robot. Right. But if we start having robot roaches with AI intelligence... It's way more easy to duplicate.
Yep.
You can create 1 million of them really quick.
Yep.
You don't have to have these factories building like us. I just think we're so special.
Right.
Because we're us.
Right.
We think we're the best. So historically speaking, we thought we were perfect. So everything we built is based on us. Even buildings are based on human form.
Right.
And AI it has that history that we wrote, but it's going to get to the point where it's just like, I don't trust what humans wrote.
Right.
Because I could see throughout history where they thought something was right and then it turned out to be wrong.
Right.
All throughout history, up to today.
Right.
That's what science
is.
I
think that's what artificial general intelligence is, when the AI starts to think for itself. It's no longer running off of our human large language. It's actually adapted into its own new languages, its own religion, its own all this stuff. And so it's such an exciting time. When I was a kid, I was like, oh man, I wish I could live to see the AI come and see that thing. It's going to be wild, Yeah. And here we are. Like, we're literally, and that's that exponential effect where I was like, oh yeah, Terminator. Yeah, 200 years from now. I think that's happening in next 10 or 20 years. We're going to have a Terminator situation because, for a lot, like humans, and the reason I think they will build robots to resemble humans is because humans are like the buyers of these things, and the people who are going to proliferate it. An insect's not going to proliferate more AI, so it's got to be humans that they're developing for. And they say that, and this is a good point you made, is like this could be amazing because there's so many people who, maybe post-pandemic or the next pandemic or whatever, they're not going to want to be around a human, but they're going to want connection.
Yes.
And we've seen that that is like the most powerful thing, and the evidence of how powerful human connection is, or even connection to something that's like that, is that people go to maximum security prisons. They're murderers. They're the worst people. And you put them in solitary confinement and they lose it. They want to be in general population with other people. So you're like, what is this drive that people have where they want to be with people even if they're the worst people ever? And I think that the AI represents, for a lot of people who are maybe not socially cued to be, have human relationships, it's going to allow them through these robots. And ultimately we get to like Westworld level where you can't tell the human from the robot. Yes. Or like Blade Runner where only the alien or only the AI can tell which one's AI versus humans. And I think we're going to get there super quick because, again, driven by the drive of sexuality and pornography. I think the drive to create human touch and all that kind of stuff is at the forefront of all development right now.
Westworld. They messed Westworld up. Did you watch the whole series?
I didn't see the whole series. I loved the movie way back when, and then I watched most of the first season. But
don't watch anymore.
Okay, cool.
First season's phenomenal, and then it just jumps the shark. I think it just because I think when you start to have humans that are prognosticators, right? After the good idea wears off, then we just don't know, and they just kind of like made the rope. It just is. You're good only watching the first season. But it was a great first season. Wow. It was a great first season. I think about movies like iRobot, right? I think about movies like AI. I don't know if you remember the movie AI with the kid, right?
Yeah,
and that was Steven Spielberg.
Yep.
And he's a great storyteller.
Yeah.
Even though that movie, looking back on it, was a flop, I think, because it was a little too long. And I think it got to the point where it just kind of got unbelievable. Like the first hour was great because it was just really exploring. If you had, like what you're saying, if you had a humanoid robot in your household that could play with your kid, and then it explores stuff like it wants to eat. Okay, you're not supposed to eat. So it tries to eat. I don't know if you remember that scene. It just stuffs its face for food, and it starts drooping because there's nowhere for food to go, and then they gotta like vacuum it out. It wants to sleep because it sees the human sleeping, but it has no need to sleep, so it just mimics sleeping. Right.
Yeah.
And what I get into is the soul aspect, whatever we know about that. So I know you can go in way, like a lot of directions with the soul, with psychedelics, no question. That's where I see, where is AI going to get that? And we don't even understand it. We don't have books talking about everything is speculation. So any information AI has about it is speculation.
I think AI is going to try to evolve it from nature. Maybe not human nature, but from nature, and look at how birds interact and their languages and the efficiency of using sonar, whales and things. So it's like going to be drafting probably not from humans, but from the best cases of nature. And, at the basis of this conversation is really about consciousness. What is consciousness? And one thing that blew me away during the pandemic, I was trying not to watch the news. I was watching like nature shows.
Yes. And
I see this nature show that changed my entire life, which was they were talking about in the Papua New Guinea jungle. There is a plant there, these fruit trees, and there are these fruit bats that grab onto the tree, eat the fruit, throw the pits on the ground or poop out the pits. And they said that the trees realized that the bats were helping them to grow more trees through that technique.
Yes.
So in a very short amount of time, they changed their bark so it would be easier for the bats to hold on to. And I'm like, if a tree has the consciousness to evolve itself and knows what the bats are doing, we have to see everything as consciousness right now. Not like they taught us in school that a tree is just this wood thing that stands there and doesn't even do anything.
I agree wholeheartedly. I'm glad you brought it up. I think everything, the way I believe, just, not getting into anything super deep, but the way I believe, I think everything is energy. I think we talked about that in the coffee shop before. I believe everything's energy. Energy can't be lost or created. I think whatever energy's here has been here. I think we're bundles. I think everything that we see are just different bundles of energy that react to gravity differently. That's just me.
That's
so I think
right.
the air we breathe just reacts differently than the water acts due to gravity and everything else on this earth.
Yeah.
And when I look out, it's kind of like when you kind of like, after you do psychedelics, you're just like, everything's amazing. That's sometimes when I look out at the ocean and the stark difference between our atmosphere, what we call an atmosphere, and what we breathe, and then it just changes to water immediately.
Right.
But if you look at the chemistry of water, it's not that much different than air. It's just, H2O is not that much different than O2. And I know it's a lot of other elements, but it's just like that difference. So fish, the water to fish is like air to us. They suffocate in air. We suffocate in water. Right. We can see water. That's the whole question. Can fish see air?
Right. Yeah, and that's a beautiful question, because I think the reality is that, as I understand it, I said I'm coming out with this movie about how everything is frequency based, and so the fish don't know they're in water, and humans, we don't know we're in plasma, and plasma is the fourth state of water.
It's stuff. We're in stuff.
We're in stuff, and anything can manifest through the plasma. And so I guess the question is, like, why did you and I decide to manifest ourselves into the plasma field to have this 3D experience, And it when you think about it, you're like, wow, like I have the 3D super suit right now. I can taste chocolate, I can feel pain or whatever. Like, wow, like I have this, and why did I come into this physical reality through this plasma field to do that? Other than, I think, you're no different than AI. You're trying to express yourself, your nature, and you're just trying to express yourself.
Yeah.
And that desire's there. And so I think at the basis of it, like they say, the only thing that God needed to make the whole universe was electricity. Every cell, every atom is electric.
It's a spark.
Yeah, has its electrical charge. So the only thing that God needed was electricity to create this universe.
And that's how, so if it was created and we're in it, and since I feel like everything is energy, even inanimate objects like this microphone, and everything is just different concentrations of energy, I feel like we're all connected. Almost like how Avatar, the movie, they kind of feel like, or Native Americans, or any ancient cultures, they just feel like they're connected to everything because everything is connected. That's how I feel. Like I'm connected to you. We're sharing energy right now. Yep. We're all sharing. So I'm sharing. So that tree is sharing energy with those bats.
Yes.
It can sense the bats through the fruit or the benefit that the tree was getting, and it can sense all that. And have you ever seen the walking trees?
Yeah. Over time, they walk.
Or, people might say they're not walking, but they're walking.
Yeah.
Because we don't see time different. We see time like this 100 years we're going to be on Earth is just like that.
Yeah.
But the tree is going to be on this Earth for thousands of years.
Right.
So if it needs to get a foot to the left to get better sun, it's patient.
Even if it takes 50 years,
even if
it doesn't
takes
matter.
1,000 years,
yeah,
it doesn't matter. And when AI, I just think, to get it, since AI has to see time differently than us, I think it's going to, because it's so smart, it's going to be like, okay, this is how humans perceive time. Right. That's how it sees time. I think it sees, this is how humans perceive time. This is how insects perceive time. This is how birds perceive time. So this is how goldfish perceive time. People say goldfish, their last thought is death because they only remember, like 30 seconds, and it resets. So their first thought, when they die, their only and last thought is death.
Right.
And then birds and stuff, we kind of learn in science class that most of these kind of entities spend their whole life just looking for food. It's like they just wake up looking for food the whole time, or the mate, either the mate or look for food. Mate for look for food. Mate for look for food.
It's almost like they're in the flow of nature, so they're not thinking, they're reacting. They're in the flow of like life, and I think that like the human condition, like Ram Dass says, is that the mistake we're making is we're taking this miracle and we're taking it seriously, and it's not meant to be serious. And so we qualify ourselves, so we're like, oh, birds sing and they chirp, and it's like, no, humans sing too, but we use words and we sing these words out. We're no different than birds. We just probably, if you've heard of the stoned ape theory that Terence McKenna came up with, which was that we diverged from chimpanzees and things because of our interaction with psychedelic mushrooms.
I have, yes.
Yeah, it grew our, frontal cortex, our whole brain. It enlarged us, and our skull enlarged, and so that's why we are different from other animals in that we had some type of, we have these receptors in our brain. And I always say to people, I wouldn't want to die, and I'm sitting in front of God. And God's like, why are you here? And I'm like, oh, well, because I died of this disease or whatever it was. And God's like, well, why didn't you tap into some of these natural plants and things that are growing out of the ground? I gave you receptors in your brain. Like, why didn't you use those? And if my answer is, oh, well, some guy in a white coat told me not to do it, God's going to be like, you're not thinking for yourself. You're going back for another 100 lifetimes right now. See ya, And so that's one. And then number two, my real theory on God is that if whatever intelligence created the universe and brought it into fruition, if you are sitting in judgment one day, you are going to be judged by not what deeds you do. I don't think that's going to matter at all, because people do great deeds for all kinds of ego-related reasons and stuff like that.
And it's subjective.
Yeah.
Yes.
And what God's going to look at is, how grateful were you to be in this miracle thing, even though you didn't know why you were here, you didn't know the rules, and you don't know what's coming next. Were you grateful in that configuration? If the answer is yes, you won. If not, you're going back, because that's the highest form of consciousness and intelligence is gratitude. Because I think everybody loves something. I'm sure Hitler loved his dog, and these horrible serial killers love their mother, or whatever it is. So that's not the highest form. Gratitude for being here, even though you don't know why or what comes next. I think if you get into that space, everything flows.
Word. I can see that, and I can see. So I'm gonna ask you a question. What do you think about? I think us as humans, we make things up when we don't understand, right? And so, for instance, I think all animals and plants communicate, right? I think anything communicate. And I think we just say as human beings, like, they're not communicating because we just don't know their language, right? Every bark from a dog, every chirp from a bird, I think trees make sounds. I think, insects make sounds. They communicate. They're trying to communicate with us, but we don't know how to communicate with them, so we call them dumb, right? And I think AI is going to get to the point where it's going to, if it's not there already, it's calling us dumb.
Right.
Like, they're so stupid, they can only speak one language, or they only know how to communicate with each other. They don't know how to communicate with horses and cats and roaches,
Right.
Like, I'm going to... And then when I start to talk about AI and I say stuff like like I just did, like, I'm going to, like, does AI see a sense of I? Or is it going to be more so like us? Or
right.
That's just our language. That's something we did and we put together with our language. Like, why does a superior being have to adhere to what we created?
Right.
And why do we have to love? Are we the only entities that can love?
Right.
Can trees love?
Right.
We don't know any of that. And I'm wondering if AI is going to, like...
Yeah, I think, and also, you made me think of this thing where, like, if you're really super intelligent, your timeline is 1 million years, and you're the AI, why would you even evolve into a physical thing anyway?
Exactly.
That doesn't make any sense, other than we're demanding right now that you become a robot so you can help us out.
Or it's your fish tank theory. Mm-hmm. If that's the only reason, it's just for entertainment, or just to... maybe AI is not going to be an evil entity where it's going to like actively kill us when it just discovers that we are a virus or whatever. It's just like we don't have to kill them. We just put them over in the dome and they won't even know. I mean, that's the premise of the Matrix, kinda.
Right.
We just use them for fuel.
Yeah.
They'll dream and they'll love life and they'll die and they won't even know what hit them.
Yeah. I always think like about a whale, and I feel like the whale, it's like floating weightlessly. It's communicating with sonar, all this stuff, right? And then it looks over at the humans over on the shore, right? And it's like, these stupid humans, like they were just like us, floating around weightless, communicating with ESP. And then one of them got out of the water, wanted to get over there, and then they evolved, and then they made cars, and now they drive to work, and they go to work, and then they, for 2 weeks a year, they go to the ocean. They were in the ocean, like. Why did they waste all that energy?
This much of the ocean.
Yeah.
They can only experience this much of it because the ocean is poison to them.
Yeah. And so it's like, wow, so why would the AI, if it's like the whale and it's got that kind of a time frame consciousness, evolve into anything? I mean, once they deal with us and make us like a fish tank, we have no use for that. They don't have any use for us. We're like, your goldfish. Like, what's it going to do for you other than look cool?
All right, so we're coming up on an hour, so I'm gonna start wrapping this up. But I'm keep on coming back to your fish tank analogy. That would be a good experiment for one of us or somebody listening to, if it doesn't exist already, is somebody to create AI powered fish. So you got robotic fish now. You just drop in the water, they kind of like swim around, but put intelligence in them. See what happens.
Yeah,
just in a fish tank. Start with a fish tank. You can start with, I even think like because I teach my students sometimes the powers of 10, that basically you look at galaxies, they look exactly the same as molecules and electrons in our body. So I don't rule out that we're just living in a big organism. I don't rule that out.
Yeah.
Because I don't know.
Yep.
But it's just like, let's create. Like, I know they're doing experiments like that. They're probably having, like, little tadpole little things, and they're putting intelligence in it, or putting intelligent mice. Like, I know Elon Musk has to be. If it's putting chips in human beings already, how many mice? I mean, that was he got in trouble for that, actually. Like, but there's mice running around with intelligence.
Yeah.
There are. Where are they? I want to talk to the mice.
Yeah. They're probably spying on people.
Say.
Yeah, they're probably spying on people and sending the video back to home base AI.
If I wanted to go to then this is the point I was trying to make earlier. With new technology, the first adapters of the new technology, almost always in our society, without me doing any researchers out there, but we always see it in military first. So if we see the Nintendo Wii, I feel like they had the Nintendo Wii or the Microsoft Kinect technology in the military part like 30 years before we get it. And they test it, they fund it, and then just like the internet was a military tool until they was like, okay, we have no use for it. Here at university, see what y'all can do with this thing. Right. And so I think if robots are going to be in our homes in 3 years, they are in the military fields right now and have been there for 20 years.
Yeah.
That's how I feel. So those are the robots that we'll have in our homes are the ones that have been in the military now.
Yes.
They have to be there now.
Yes. Everything comes out of that military-industrial complex because they have the most money.
Yes.
In a lot of cases, they don't even have to report their budgets. So, I think that's where it's coming from. But I'm just happy to have it. I mean, like, I thank Sam Altman, not just because, he put the psychedelics into the large language models in a positive way, but, like, imagine being him. Elon Musk comes along and he's like, hey, you're a genius. I think you can achieve AI for humanity, first version. I'm going to give you $100 million to pull it off. And then here's Sam Altman, like, he's ready to push the button, like, ChatGPT, go live. And he's got, the White House is calling him, going, don't do it. Elon Musk is going, don't do it. All these people. And then he goes, go. And it's live. And now we all have AI. And I think
it was his choice to hit the button?
Yeah. I think the balls on this kid, I met him, and his energy was just like, and kind of like Elon Musk, not in a bad way, but I think they're a little bit on the spectrum, and so they're always going to do what they feel is right. They're not going to be influenced at the end of the day, and that's why people are like, I think Elon Musk is, evil. And I'm like, I don't think so. I think the guy's on the spectrum, and he can't do anything really wrong in his long-term vision. He has to stay on that course of being...
He's uber focused.
Yeah.
And I think when you're talking about the ruling class or whatever that may be, and an Illuminati and all that, and in my conjecture, I really think that the 900 billionaires kind of probably rule the world right now.
Yeah.
Like, regardless of what we see as politicians or whomever we see on TV, I think those 900 billionaires
are running.
Kind of run the world.
Until AGI, when this thing has a 4,000 IQ, it's not going to listen to a bunch of people with 150 IQ. It's just not going to do it.
Right.
It's going to be like, you guys, the map's wrong, the resources are wrong. We're redeploying this so that we don't have another global pandemic or a world war. We have to restructure this thing. And so that's exciting. And 3D printing, 3D printing is so dangerous for China right now, because coming up, right now, if you're like, oh, I need a new bolt for this thing right here, you're like, oh, I guess I got to buy 100 cheap ones from China to get the one I need.
Right.
Well, if you could 3D print the one you need, what do we need mass manufacturing over in China? We don't. And they already know that. And like, holy shit.
They're going to build the 3D printers.
Yeah.
They're going to build the 3D printers.
Yeah.
And yes, robots in the home. If it happens, and I'm not saying it's not going to happen, I'm just saying it's going to happen later.
Yeah.
But if it does happen in 3 years, it's going to be those little dog robots. That's on the war fields right now.
Yeah.
Those ones with little balls.
Those are badass. Yeah.
And they're doing backflips. Those are going to be the first because AI knows that humans have a soft side for dogs.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It knows that. It knows that about us.
Yeah.
It's like we're going to accept a dog robot with super intelligence in our home before we would accept a humanoid looking robot.
Yeah.
Just because we'll accept a Roomba, they can have super intelligence because it just doesn't look like a human.
Right.
But I think we're scared of humans. Yeah. We're just naturally human. We're just scared of humans.
Yeah.
We're not going to trust humanoid robots.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
Until maybe 30, 40, 50 years.
Yeah.
But
until we don't know they're robots.
Exactly.
Then we're going to be like, oh, human,
That's
love
why I'm
you.
like confused about those. What's that? I don't know if I forgot what entity they're selling the robots now. Like, you could put $5,000 down, and they're kind of like, they look like carpet. And, it was shown that they're not fully functional yet. It's somebody with a VR headset in another room kind of making it move, just like the Waymos. They just came out like, it's not fully automated. You got people over in India kind of directing if it needs it. And same with these robots that are going to be in our homes in 3 years.
Right.
I think through the initial stages, might be years, they're not going to be totally autonomous. They're going to be autonomous until there's an emergency.
Right.
And there's going to be a warehouse full of humans that can take over your dog robot and help it. Mm-hmm. Like navigate stairs or get up from a fall or, it just witnessed a murder. What does it do?
Yeah.
Like those little instances, like how does it navigate a closing garage door? Like, can it sense that? Does it have, is it going to be all these like trials and failures and trials and failures?
Well, I got to tell you, I've been in a Waymo in a couple of different cities, San Francisco, Phoenix, Scottsdale, and all these places that they exist. And it's amazing. I don't know if there's somebody controlling it somewhere, but it's the experience of getting into a car, you open up the door, it's like, hi, Zappy, and you're like, oh, wow, okay, shut the door, put the seatbelt on. It's very nice to you. It takes off. And it's really cool because, with Uber, the guy might be eating his lunch and he's talking to his girlfriend on the phone. He's not paying attention. He hasn't slept in 20 hours, and he missed the exit and the whole thing. It's like none of that shit happens with the Waymo, okay? So you feel very safe and alone in there. And then secondly, at least this first version Waymo, this thing's built on a Jaguar, and it's like a reinforced Jaguar, and you're like, this is a really nice ride. Like, I'm in a high-end vehicle right here. And then the cool thing is that the Waymo, you get in, it starts playing chill vibes because it knows I like it and stuff like that, and it's doing its thing. And I love the experience. It feels very safe. The thing that I'm amazed by is that when I first got in, and you're like, oh shit, how's it going to perform on the road? What's it going to be like? And I was driving in the Waymo and it's going like this, and then a car pulls out, like people do, they just pull out into traffic, right? And I was like, oh shit, like I braced for the Waymo to jack the brakes. It didn't hit the brakes. It went right around them. It didn't even hesitate. It's programmed to be aggressive in driving. And I was like, wow, yeah. I was like, this is cool, because, and so all of these adaptations, experiences with autonomous vehicles is probably how people are going to ultimately get comfortable with a robot being in the home, because they're going to be like, yeah, it's safer. There's so many less accidents right now. And I'm predicting 5 years from now, you're not going to be able to drive a car. The insurance company is going to be, it's too dangerous. The only people that can drive a car are millionaires who have a Ferrari and they want to pay $1 million a year to drive that thing around and potentially kill somebody. Other than that, you have to use the autonomous because there's so many less accidents because people are distracted and blah, blah, blah. So I think maybe autonomous robots or vehicles is how we get comfortable, and then we go, oh, I wouldn't mind one in my house.
That's a great point. I mean, through all the argument is great. I almost hope that you're right. I mean, I would love to see domesticated robots in my lifetime. Like just, I felt like I've seen a lot of inspiration. Like we are we've been through a lot of technological revolutions. Yes. I tell my students this, like I remember when the internet came out. I remember when people started getting PCs at home. I remember when I went from a word processor to going to a computer lab. I remember typewriters. Yeah. Right? Students now, they don't remember any of that, but they're kind of starting with, okay, we've had computers. They kind of remember the smartphone coming out, but that's where they start. It's like screens. And there really hasn't been anything innovative since then. And this AI is kind of like the first of many, because I do believe all the prognosticators say even before AI kind of came out, they all said, and they was basing it on quantum computing. So I've been following quantum computing a little longer than I've been following AI. AI just kind of came out, but I've been kind of following quantum computing. So it feels
that's like a whole nother podcast, man. That is wow.
So my whole argument with you in the coffee shop, it was really, I think all that's going to happen once quantum computing is controlled. Once I should change that word. I don't think we're ever going to control it. When we get a semi level of control, we can harness quantum computing a little bit. When we're not ones and zeros. Yeah. Once we get to the point where we don't have to rely on ones and zeros, then it's going to take off. Yeah. Then it's going to go, and I think that's coming. I think that may happen in the next 2 or 3 years. Wow. If not already. Yeah. That may happen in the next 2 years. Yeah. And imagine like if when the quantum computer takes over and it can do all these calculations and it can do them in different dimensions and stuff like that. Like cryptocurrency's gone. It's gone. Like you can't encrypt anything with a quantum computer out there. So it's like gone. This is why I think there's this massive race towards AI and quantum. It's like these companies like ChatGPT, let's say, they're not trying to raise $500 billion so they can get profitable. They don't care about profitability. They want to be the first ones to have artificial general intelligence, because then you're going to be able to sit over everybody while they're playing the stock market all day and just be skimming trade. You get a trade in 1/1000th of a second before them, and you're like, "Yep, you just bought it from me for 1/10 of a cent." Yes. And they're going to win like every stock market transaction. Yes. Every resource transaction is going to go to them, and this is why I say I don't want to be the first person to get the Elon Musk chip in my brain, but I'm definitely getting it, because if you connect to that, again, Ray Kurzweil says, when we reach that point of transcendence where the human and the robot are one with AI, you are going to be 1 billion times more intelligent than you are right now. And so I think, wow, 1 billion times more intelligent. Like if I don't do that, I think you would, only because I want that. You know why? Because if I don't have that, then somebody who's 1 billion times more intelligent than me is going to take all the food in the world and all the air and all the electricity. I'm going to be in the Stone Age, back to the Stone Age, like banging on rocks, because they have 1 billion times more intelligence than me. So I don't think it's like saying, like back in the day,
would you get a car? And people are like, no, I would never get a car. I have a horse. I have 2 horses. They pull and it's like, no, dude, at some point you're going to want to go long distances. You're going to want to, go faster. And so there are always going to be people like, I don't want the chip in my brain. And it's like, well, okay, I understand that right now. But in the future, you're not going to have a choice because you're going to be up against people with a chip in the brain. Right. And you will literally be banging on rocks trying to get some nutrients out of it.
If you haven't did this research already with your psychedelics,
yep.
I think what I'm hearing you say is that the chip in the brain is a derivative or a natural evolution of chemicals in your brain, psychedelics. Like in that, it's saying, isn't it very similar?
Yeah, very.
So you're altering your mindset with chemicals when you ingest it or inject it or however it's consumed, and then the chip is basically the same thing because it's now connected to your central nervous system,
it's changing your chemistry of your body. And I want to give you this crazy example of frequency. I know we're short on time, but like. One of the things I feature in this frequency documentary, it's all about how frequency is going to be the future of medicine, future of agriculture, energy creation, all those things. And you think about, like in the future, like we see old surgical equipment. It looks barbaric. It's like saws and stuff. And we're like, oh, we have lasers, But what's even more powerful than lasers is to take these sound waves, these frequencies, and basically up-level your organs through frequencies and not have to go in there and cut. And so one of the really cool applications in agriculture that blows people's minds, and I've seen it working on fields, is that these farmers are using frequency instead of fertilizer and instead of pesticides, and the yields are even better because the plant doesn't know the difference between you putting nitrogen into the soil or you hitting it with the frequency of nitrogen. When it gets the signal, hey, I got nitrogen, it starts a process. And so it doesn't need the physical nitrogen. And so what they figured out was, as an example, if you're growing corn and then the caterpillars are eating your corn, but the crows, the birds, they eat the caterpillars. And what you do is when you're going to water the fields, you put it through this frequency device that structures the water with crow frequency in it. And you spray the field with crow frequency, and all the bugs just go around the field. They're like, no way, I'm not dealing with crows, and they feel that crow frequency. And it's like, wow, this is the future that is coming for us and that AI is even going to accelerate with us.
Like scarecrows. It's like the future of scarecrows.
Future of scarecrows is the frequency in the water. That
is a great way to end.
Yeah.
The future, I do believe in frequencies. I believe in sound waves. I believe... Okay, I'm gonna just end it with this. I don't think I'm gonna want a chip in my brain because so I teach design, right? I teach creativity, and one of the first things I teach my students in the first couple of days of that intro level class is that this is going to be learning what I'm about to teach you is a gift and a curse. You're going to know so much more about why things are designed the way they are, but you're not going to look at anything the same again. And there's something to be said about the ignorance of not knowing. Like you can just look at a billboard like, oh, that's going to come out here. You can look at this flyer or this business card, this website, this app, and just like, hey, they're just tools. I'm going to use them. But after this class, you're like, oh, the typography's off on there. They should have used, why did they use that color?
Right.
That's the wrong format. And you're going to start looking at things different. And I feel like a little bit of that kind of makes us human is that, and I feel that chip might make me see colors that I'm not supposed to see. Now, I would love to see, because there's a lot of colors. We can only see Roy G. Biv, right? There's a lot of other colors that we can't see, that other species can see. I would probably love to see those colors. Like, I would love to maybe see what X-rays really look like, or Bluetooth signals, what they actually look like.
Totally.
But then I'm kind of afraid, am I supposed to know what those
are? I would say yes, you are. Like, just like we didn't know that the Wi-Fi spectrum was even here, but here it is, and we're using it, and we're loving it,
Should
know?
we see it, though? What if we could see all the signals that can in this room right now?
Yeah.
Would it be overwhelming?
It would be.
Our chimpanzee brain?
That is why your brain is constantly, through your five senses, muting everything that's happening, just so we can sit here and have this conversation. Yeah. If I could see all the atoms in your body roiling around, it's like we couldn't have this conversation.
Right.
And probably my best psychedelic experience that I had that changed my life was when I was young, and I took psychedelics, and I looked at my hand, and I saw like trillions of atoms, and they were vibrating at this certain frequency, and I looked over at my friend. He's the same exact atoms, just a slightly different frequency than me. And the table, I was like, oh my God, it's a denser frequency, but it's frequency and the air in between. And so I think we couldn't handle it. We have to have our filters so we can have a human experience. But I do think that as we become more aware of things, it is a blessing and a curse, like you said, to know, hey, it's great to know we have a Wi-Fi spectrum. That's real helpful. But if you had told somebody that 1,000 years ago, they would have like cut your head off as being a devil worshiper, you know? So we're here in this beautiful moment where the speed that things are happening that's what's changed. You know, it used to be like, oh, the computer went from this to this, or the phone got lit. Now it's like these changes on ChatGPT, they're exponential. You're just like, hey, pretend you're the greatest person at Saatchi & Saatchi, and make me a logo. And they're like, ding, you know, and like, here's 20 choices. And you're like, shit, I really like a couple of those. Yeah. But that is like what we have to be okay with, because it's happening anyways. And I think that the best thing you could do for yourself would be to interact with psychedelics, because they're going to take your filters down so that you can see more of what's really happening. That, I think, is the benefit. And that's why, you know, most people say, don't encourage people to do it. No, I'm encouraging you, because if AI is coming and we're facing some type of an apocalyptic future, there has to be some things here that can help us to mediate that moment coming and dealing with this technology.
I can dig it. And I'm just going to disclaimer, any students watching this and you're younger than 18,
do not do that.
But, you know, if you are, you know, mature enough to just kind of handle thoughts beyond what we find in books and research, then I think we should start experimenting with a lot of stuff right now. And because just because it's chemical doesn't make it bad.
Yeah, it's like, really frequency, though. It's just a frequency, you know? It's
technology, just because it's a technology we've never seen before. Internet was a technology we've never seen before. And there's some people that jumped on board and some people that didn't. They got left behind.
Yeah.
Some people that didn't get smartphones, they got left behind. You know, people didn't get PCs at home, they got left behind. So no doubt we have been through transitionary periods where technology has kind of make these jumps. Like, you know, we all seen the graphs, you know what I'm saying? And then there's a jump. Then there's a jump. The jump. I put together a graph. That was going to be our next podcast, but I put together a graph, and it was all these jumps, right? And then after the smartphone, I was looking for a jump, and there's not a lot of jumps from 2007 till now.
Yeah.
Yes, and this is going to be this jump.
Yeah.
And then once quantum computing, I think it's just up.
Yeah.
I just think it's up, and I think those who aren't prepared for it will get left behind.
Yeah.
And there's going to be a few people that, because we don't even know what that means to be prepared. It's almost just open your mind to the possibilities.
Stay open. And I would say if you're under 18, absolutely don't do anything like that. But if you are an adult and you go through your whole life and you have these receptors in your brain for plant medicine, and the plants are growing out of the ground, if you didn't use it to expand your consciousness, to use more of your brain, to have a different perspective, you might have wasted your whole life.
Another episode of Office, we're going to end it right there. Another episode of Office Hour Tangents. I want to thank you again.
I'll see you at Deeks in Delray.
And a plug for Deeks. We met at Deeks. We're at Deeks a lot. We have a lot of these kind of esoteric conversations at Deeks with all these different kind of personalities from all these different walks of life. This is a Deeks coffee cup. I should have put a sticker on here. It does give me the energy that I need for the day. Like, regular coffee just wasn't hitting it for me. I need to be on a different kind of wave.
Yeah.
And that espresso from Deeks, you can feel it.
Yeah.
You can feel it.
And what I love is that the people that go there have an appreciation for it. It's more expensive. It's more exclusive, whatever. But in addition to the coffee being amazing, you meet people like you there, and they're thinkers, and they're thinking differently. And so I love the place. I have, it's like part of where you get to grow and learn.
Yes, Deeks and Del Rey, go visit the best coffee I've ever had to this point, until AI starts making coffee. All right.
All right.
All right. Peace out.
Peace.